Good evening. It is 8:47, and I would like to call the Northborough School Committee into order. The first item this evening for the Northborough School Committee is to elect chairperson. Elections were held after our first meeting in May, so it's time to elect our officer slate from Northborough. So we need a motion for chairperson from the Northborough members.
I motion that we nominate Patty Kress as chair of the Northborough School Committee.
Second.
Accept. Do we need a vote from the Northborough committee members?
Yes.
That's great. And so Patty Kress, you are the chair. I will come over.
Only for Northborough, so
Only
you
for
can keep
Northborough.
the gavel
Okay.
for whoever's going to be running the combined.
Okay.
Thank you. I happily accept the chairmanship for Northborough School Committee, and I'd like to welcome and congratulate our members who have been recently re-elected. And I will now call for nominations for vice chair for the Northborough School Committee.
I nominate Susan as vice chair.
Thank you.
Do I second myself? I second.
You can.
You accept?
I do.
Any further nominations or discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations, and now vice chair. And I will take nominations for secretary of Northborough School Committee.
I'll nominate Keith, even though he's not here, LaBelle as secretary.
Second.
Any further nominations? Any discussion? All in favor? All right. We have our officers. Thank you.
And I believe, Madam Chair, we do need to identify the Northborough members for the superintendent, Union number 3 officers. Southborough has already elected theirs, I believe, yes.
Okay.
I would put in the 3 most senior members along with the chairperson, which would be Patty Kress, myself, along with John King.
Do we need a vote?
We need a second.
Vote?
Second. And any discussion and a vote? All in favor?
Wonderful. Congratulations to the new officer team. And at this time, so that we can continue forward, I would like to ask that the chairs of the Northborough, Southborough, and regions already in session to call their, Northborough's in session technically, so it's just Southborough, to call your committee to order.
I'll call the Southborough Committee into order.
Okay, that's wonderful. At this point, I would like to call the Superintendency Union number 3 to order. And the practice is that we alternate between Northborough and Southborough for the officers of the Superintendency Union number 3. This year, the officer slate will be from Northborough. And I will state that the composition of this is 3 members from Northborough, including the chair, which would be Patty Kress, and 2 members. And also Southborough, Jerry Capra, and 2 members. And I believe that was previously identified as Paul Desmond and Mary Beth Strickland, who is joining us this evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so at this point, I would like to ask for a motion for the chair of the Superintendency Union number 3.
I move, if I may move that Joan Frank be our chair of the Superintendency Union number 3.
We need a second.
Second.
And at this time, the 6 members of the Superintendency Union number 3 would need to vote.
In favor?
Hopefully. And I think we have a vote. It's unanimous. At this time, I joyfully hand the gavel off to our new Superintendency Union number 3 chair to continue the election process of vice chair and secretary.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration and your vote of confidence. I was not expecting that. So at this time, I'd like to take nominations for the vice chair of the Superintendency Union number 3. Patty?
I'll move that we nominate Mr. Jack Kane as vice chair.
Second.
Second by Paul. Any other nominations? Nominations closed. All those in favor of Jack Kane as the vice chair? And it's unanimous. Now I'd like to take nominations for secretary.
I will nominate Patty Kress for
Thank
secretary.
you. Mary Beth nominated Patty Kress for secretary. Second?
Second.
Second by Paul. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Patty as secretary? And it's unanimous. Thank you. So we have our slate of officers for the Superintendency Union Number 3. The first item that we have on our agenda is audience sharing. Any audience sharing? Okay. The next item that we have is, okay, here we go, especially with our new members, stay along with us because it gets a little bit tricky here, but we get it done very in an expedient way. We have actions of minutes of the combined open meeting of March 15th, 2017. So sometimes what we do, instead of taking separate, if somebody serves on several committees, they can make the first motion. We try to do it. Mary Beth.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the combined meeting of Wednesday, March 15th for Southborough and the Union.
Okay.
All motion for Northborough to accept the combined open meeting minutes of March 15th.
Okay.
I'll move for the region and second for superintendents in Southborough.
Okay. I will second for Northborough and the region. Okay. So any other, is there any discussion? The motion has been made to accept the minutes as stated. Any discussion, corrections, edits? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor of the motion on the table for all four committees? And it passed. Is there any abstentions? One abstention. Okay. Two abstentions. And the abstentions are for the region? Yes. And the abstention for region? Two. So we have two abstentions for the regions. Okay, and they all pass. Thank you very much. Madam Madam Superintendent.
Thank you. I will move quickly and pass this to two just amazing, outstanding instructional technology leaders in our district, Jen Trombino and Julie Doyle. This is a topic that we could spend hours on, but I will say that this is a long-standing goal of ours to bring to you this evening the formation of a digital literacy certificate that will be very much a part of our technology teaching and learning, and something that will hopefully move our district forward and do so in a way that engages all of our teachers and our professional staff. So without further ado, Julie Doyle and Jen Trombino, thank you for your patience as always. It always goes longer than we anticipated, and you've had full days today, so we turn this off to you.
Great, thank you. Well, we're very happy to be able to, you may talk into that. So we are very happy to be able to come here and tell you a little bit about the development of this digital literacy certificate. It comes directly from one of the professional development goals in the technology implementation plan to create a district-wide digital literacy certificate for educators, which demonstrates a level of teachers' technology proficiency. So we have, in the district, developed over the last 2 years a digital literacy leader team. These are teachers from all of our schools, so all of our schools are represented. Some schools have more than one. The high school has 6 digital literacy leaders that are part of this team. And they're self-selected, so they're not people that get nominated or elected, or they select themselves to come and participate and take on this role. What they do is they provide school-based leadership in the area of technology and digital literacy. They share effective technology integration within their building with their colleagues and with each other at our meetings. And they partner with the instructional technology team to implement all of the goals of the district's technology plan. And then they assist in the development of professional development, which this certificate is part of. So the certificate, we spent the last 2 years actually working on this, and it's in the development stage still, some of it. But what we have accomplished so far is a framework for the certificate. Teachers can go through the 5 modules, and then when they complete it, get the certificate and be able to get in-district salary credit. And hopefully, the goal is to be able to get graduate credit eventually. The 5 modules are all aligned with the Iste Standards, and there's a heavy focus on letting it be very personalized for teachers. So these are the 5 modules, bless you, that, and the framework for the certificate. So they start either with the Essential Skills module, which is the module we have finished developing. The digital literacy leaders have piloted it, and now the NASA team, or a bunch of the NASA team, is involved in the launch of this, which is wonderful. If a teacher already has all of those essential skills, and we'll tell you what we have defined those as, then they would actually skip and go right into the 4 modules and work with those 4 modules and then complete a capstone project. So we don't want people to have to go through a module of skills that they already have, and we want it to be very purposeful what they're doing. When the digital literacy leaders sat down and spent a year conceptualizing what should this look like, what do we want teachers to be able to do, what would be a really innovative way to get all of the different goals met that we have around teaching and learning. So the number one thing that came up was that we wanted teachers to have choice. We wanted to be very personalized. We wanted whatever it was that they were learning to be useful to them immediately, fit in with their own goals, professional goals. And we also decided that a blended model would work best. And that would be having some face-to-face time and then having individualized time where people work at their own pace on their own projects. And we built in some collaborative work time so that a cohort could get together and learn to support each other in developing whatever skills or projects they were making. Then the next couple here, building context and capacity for learning, resiliency, adaptability, and attitudes toward continued learning. These 3 really fit together very well because, as we know, technology changes daily, sometimes by the hour. So there's a lot of mindset that has to develop around being able to find a resource to learn, to be able to adapt to a change. You know, if something updates and you need to be able to keep moving forward. So those are skills we wanted to be able to develop in our teachers as well. And then finally, we really wanted to make sure that whatever skills and competencies that we were trying to get from them were going to be amplified by the instructional technology that we have in the district. The creativity, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, you may have heard the 4 C's referred to. That's a big piece of everything that we're aiming at around these modules. And then the higher order tasks and questions and thinking that we want our students to be doing. We want whatever work that comes out of the modules to be bringing this out in our students as well. I'm going to pass the microphone.
So Jen mentioned that all of these modules are based on the Iste Standards, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Iste, but Iste is an organization, it's an advisory organization that's been in existence for over 40 years, and it stands for the International Society for Technology Education. So they have standards for teachers, they have standards for students, they have standards for administrators, all technology-based standards. So we are referring to those standards very often as we create these modules. So the content of the modules will be delivered using what we call a blended learning model, and Jen started to explain that. Blended learning is a combination of face-to-face as well as online. And after the groups are organized to participate in the modules, we're going to be scheduling collaborative work times. And those collaborative work times will be facilitated and supported by our technology team as well as those DLLs that Jen mentioned. The modules are being developed in our new learning management system that we're adopting for next year at the high school, which is called Canvas, and that was brought up earlier this evening. And the first module will be developed in Google Classroom. It already actually has been developed.
Just to build on that, so the Google Classroom is the learning management system a lot of our teachers are using right now in the middle and the elementary schools. So that module will become the digital literacy essentials module for them, and then the high school will be using Canvas for that first module, the essential skills. So the modules These are the 5 modules. And again, they don't have to be in any particular order other than the digital literacy essentials would be a starting point for someone who really needed a lot of those essential skills, and the capstone project would be the ending point. But overall, 5 modules would be completed for a certificate. The first one up at the top there, digital literacy essentials, that is the module that's completed and is being piloted. The pedagogical approaches module is the one we're almost done developing. We are going to hopefully have one more work session and really nail that down. The content engagement, assessment, and efficiency module, and embracing a changing digital landscape, and professional growth and collaboration modules, those are being developed over the summer and into next fall. So we should be able to have a full certificate of all the modules developed. It took a while to get a good framework down, and now that we have that framework, now we know where we're going with that.
So that first module that you saw on the previous slide, that has already been developed, and there was a small group of us who actually worked, we did like a summer professional development project, and we developed all the tutorials and the assessments that go along with that module. That module focuses specifically on the essential skills that go along with what we call Google Apps for Education, which is widely used in all the schools, K-12. Also on the use of mobile devices, specifically navigation, troubleshooting, and some of the really key learning apps.
The second module, the one that we're hoping to have ready for the fall, possibly the end of spring, is the pedagogical approaches module, and that is going to focus on projects and work around instructional strategies, things that increase student engagement, create thinkers and problem solvers. And it's a focus on more of creating versus consuming your knowledge. The approaches that we are looking at are personalized learning, differentiated learning, project-based learning, and inquiry-based learning. So they'll be doing some inquiry around what are those approaches, what do they mean in terms of research, and then how can I apply that? And that module actually has some exemplars from the digital literacy leaders, so they have ideas as far as how those different approaches might happen. Okay. Then the next module is the content engagement, assessment, and efficiency module. That's going to focus on technology-based solutions for content delivery and assessments. We'll look at virtual learning spaces, digital assessments, workflow. Workflow is very different when you're working with technologies. With a pen and paper, you're going to write something out, you're going to hand it in. With a lot of the projects our students are working on, they're creating something on one device, putting it in the cloud, pulling it onto another device, and then integrating it into a project. So the workflow gets very complex. So that growth mindset and the maker mindset is built in there. And then again, it's building capacities for problem solving, adapting, being resilient. And again, these things are, if teachers are using this and modeling this, this is also what we want to have in our students as we're going through the teaching and learning process with them. The changing digital landscape, that has a big focus on digital citizenship. It sounds kind of boring when you look at this list, but there are some things that people have to be able to know about. And acceptable use, being a critical consumer, understanding what it means to have a digital footprint professionally, and also with your students, how you're helping them create a digital footprint, and especially preparing them for future jobs. And then the final one, I think.
So this module focuses on teachers using technology to continue to improve their professional practice. We will be showing them how to use social media to help to develop what we call the PLN, or the Personal Learning Network. We also will try to show them how they can use technology to participate in both local and global learning opportunities.
So we blasted through a lot of information there. At some point, we'd love to come back and show you some of the work and what it looks like, but tonight was kind of a big picture overview. But if there are any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Can you talk about how technology can be used and how you're going to help teachers use it to challenge more advanced kids in a classroom? It seems like that second module might get at that with the personalized instruction.
That is big, and it's a tricky, definitely a mind shift for a lot of people, because we're in this mode of, it's kind of the factory mode, so you have this mode of everybody traveling along the same path, learning the same things, because you have the same assessment that you all have to get to. And so there's a mind shift, especially in that pedagogical approaches, where you are allowing for different kinds of assessment. These modules all build off of each other really well. I like how the structure ended up coming out from our team. So thinking about the assessment, not everybody having the same input, and being able to assess a student against their own skills. So one student might start here, and one student might start here. They both see growth, that kind of assessment happening. So it is a mind shift for people to be able to do that, to have that, be that personalized. And again, the challenge is there because we are assessing everybody in a very unpersonalized way. So it's a challenge. You want to add to that too?
Yeah, so, technology provides the opportunity for there to be a lot of self-directed, self-paced learning, and so for our more advanced students to be able to sort of maybe go ahead, that whole blending learning approach where there's some online as well as face-to-face, so that online opportunity provides these kids to do all sorts of exploration. I mean, we're moving to a phase in education where the educators don't really need to be the deliverers of content anymore, right? So we need to find new ways to challenge our kids and get them more involved in problem solving and real-life applications. And technology is just the tool, right? But it's about changing the sort of environment of teaching and learning.
Jerry?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that the focus was on creating rather than consuming content. Okay, can you just elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think that's really important from an educational standpoint.
I'm sure we both can, because we come from different places with that. But, so that would be the difference between having a workbook that a student is going to just go through and get the content and just consume it, versus going out and doing the research or working in a collaboration and to solve a problem and creating a product that shows your knowledge. So you're creating content to demonstrate your knowledge and your learning versus just taking that workbook and then taking a test and saying, see, I learned everything in this book. And do you want to add to that? Because you do a lot here with...
So I think for years and years, students have been taught by sitting in a chair and having someone teach them something, and I think they're so used to doing that. And so this whole shift of having them be active learners and to participate more in their learning and the direction of their learning is tricky. But to be able to create something and to learn all these digital media tools will help to prepare them for college and career. So yeah, to be creators as opposed to consumers.
Any other questions? Mary Beth?
I think this sounds wonderful, and I'm glad that our educators are, excited to do this. I'm just curious, how much time commitment? Do we think this is just curiosity?
That is an excellent question. So it is designed to be around 35 hours, so 5 modules at 7 hours per module. Again, the digital literacy essentials module, some person might finish it in 4 hours, someone might take 17. And that's something that we've kind of taken into account. But the other modules themselves were designed around about a 7-hour commitment. So it's very doable. And the idea is to work in cohorts. We've talked about possibly getting cohorts that have either a common subject area or a common grade level, or curriculum leaders, things like that, so that those cohorts are also building capacity in their specific.
Great.
And they can combine projects. We want them collaborating. So if you had a first grade team going through pedagogical approaches, and as a first grade team, they decided they wanted to try something, those 7 hours times whatever number of people in that cohort is a lot more work in there. Do you want?
Lynn and then Patty.
So you mentioned early on in your presentation about how right now it's in district credit or something, and hopefully you want to get it to be graduate credit. What steps do we have to make in order to, because it's 35 hours, it's like a fair commitment. So, and I know, the teachers have requirements to get their masters at the same time, like in the first 5 years.
Do you want to speak to that?
What would be that requirement?
So one of the things that's very exciting about this is the whole premise behind the digital literacy certificate was really based on some of the questions that Jerry and Paul asked, that in order to provide that learning environment for student, we had to ensure that we had an equity of access to teachers who understood the importance of teaching and learning in this environment. And so this was an initiative that was really launched some time ago, and it needed, you know, a Julie and Jen and the digital literacy leaders to really embrace this and provide that for our district. This really, in the day and age of teaching and learning in a technology world, replaces something that we had embedded in our teacher contract years ago, which was the completion of a skillful teacher program, and that extended over a period of years. And so that has always still been in our contract. We have that as a placeholder, and this is going to replace that. So the goal over time, not tomorrow and certainly not all next year or the year after, is that over a designated period of time, the expectation will be our teachers will have all gone through this process, so that we as a district can say our teachers are digital literate learners and are embracing this in their own classroom. So what we are doing is very much similar to the retail. Retail was a mandate. It wasn't, you know, the genesis wasn't from within. And so we used a 3-credit in-district model to encourage teachers to participate in that retail because it was good for them and it was good for our school community. And we're launching that similar structure, which has been very successful, just like the skillful teacher was. So we have good practice there. As far as the graduate credit, this is actually very exciting to us. We're pretty much the first district that has really launched something like this and on a full scale, and couldn't do it without the hard work that's, you know, this is a short presentation that really sort of encapsulates days, hours, multiple folks coming together and brainstorming. And we've talked to Worcester State University. As we know, Worcester State University has a cohort of administrators going through the process. They tomorrow will be halfway there already, and have talked to Worcester State about this is really teaching and learning for tomorrow. And would you consider making this a part of their administrative cohort program, in which case the graduate credit would come through that process. So we're really excited about where this is going to go. And for our teachers, it's phenomenal, but more importantly, for our students, it's amazing to be able to say as a district that all of our teachers are digitally literate in terms of creating those classrooms that Paul and Jerry were asking about and Julie and Jen commented about. But it's going to take time. All good outcomes take time, and we're a couple modules ahead. Jen actually and Julie presented to the NASA administrative team. It's challenging. I think I got through slide 1 of section 1, you know, the first module. And so it was great. It was a lot of fun, and it was, I learned a lot in one slide, and as did the other administrators. So.
Patty?
I think my question is for Mrs. Doyle in regards to the Canvas. Who is responsible for entering in the content that's going to be in the system? Do you expect each educator, each teacher to put their own content into the system, or does it, okay.
Yeah. So we're going to
Has there been any pushback in regards to that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, thanks for
So
understanding.
change is tough for anybody, yeah. And so I think we're going to sort of do, the first year, there will be minimum requirements for teachers, and then hopefully, in the second year, there'll be more content that teachers will add to their classes. But mostly there's a lot of excitement about what this can do for us and for our students, right? Because that's the most important thing. The kids, for the past couple of years, have been accessing 3 or 4 different learning management systems, and Edline is being phased out, so we needed to make a choice. And this is a highly reputable organization, and this LMS is being used in many prestigious institutions. Harvard, BC uses Canvas. So not only are we providing a great opportunity for our kids here, but we're preparing them for what they'll see in college as well.
Throw one more piece in there, too. One of the nice things about a learning management system also, especially something like Canvas, is the content that the teachers develop, the courses they develop, are reusable. So it's called Common Cartridge, and you can take it, you can put it in a different learning management system, or you can just reuse it year after year, so that the amount of time people put into developing their courses is not time wasted. It's actually very, very useful for them, too, so.
Yeah, and they can collaborate too, so because they can export those classes, they can share and.
Any other comments? I just had a comment that I think it's a win-win situation for our district, because besides the graduate credits, if we can get that, all the teachers have to be certified within a 5-year window period, whenever that should be. But something like this with 35 PDP points would definitely help to facilitate, even if someone has that advanced degree or they're at the end of the columns with, as far as they can go with master's or doctorate. So I think it gives them, it's wonderful that we're doing that, and that component of the standards that we're providing for the teachers, rather than them having to go out and do something separate, we're allowing it to do within the district and to work together. My question was on the page 2. No, I'm sorry, on page 3, the time for implementation. It said here on spring 2017, the first 2 modules would be offered. Is that going to be in the fall, or do you have somebody going through it right now?
We have the NASA cohort going through it right now, and then, or most of the NASA cohort going through it right now. They're very busy with a lot of other things, so it's a good thing it's self-paced. We were thinking of doing something in the summer with it, because we wanted to get it rolling out, but we also wanted to make sure we had something for people to fall into. So if they don't go into the digital literacy essentials module, if they're ready to dive right into pedagogical approaches, that they have somewhere to go right away. So we've moved it up a little bit so that we know that when we do roll it out, people will have choices and it will be successful. We'll have been vetted, all the different resources that we pulled together.
Okay. Thank you very much for the development of this. This is very exciting. Oh, Lynn?
Yes, before we close on this topic, I really want to extend just a tremendous kudos to Greg for working with this team, for moving the work along, and for really providing guidance and coloring in what was really just a shell and a framework. So working closely with our instructional leaders, who really are instructional leaders in the district, and our tech team, and just Greg providing that guidance and that support and opportunity for sort of creative problem solving has been tremendous. So,
And I'd
thanks,
like
Greg.
to publicly thank Julie and Jen for their leadership. And it's one of the joys of my job is I get to work with great, talented people, and so it's it's exciting work and more to come in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have on our agenda is the preliminary survey feedback from the calendar along with communications.
Well, interesting data. We did mention that in March, I think it was just March, that we were actually going to send out a survey. And this took actually 2 forms. One was the communication survey that we sent to all the parents, which is actually underneath the calendar survey. And we embedded a few questions about the school calendar, possible changes to the school calendar in this communication survey. So I'm sort of going to go back and forth between the two. The communication survey was a parent feedback survey to sort of check in and see where we measure our progress against our strategic plan communication focus goal. And it was kind of interesting how the questions were formulated and selected. It actually was done with the superintendent's parent advisory group, which is all of the PTO presidents who meet with us once a month. And we started out, Greg and I started out with the strategic plan, and they finally sat back and said, that's not going to work for us. We don't really understand a lot of those questions. Let's break it down so that when we send it out to the parent community, they'll really appreciate the simplicity of the questions, because they don't talk about curriculum and on a regular basis. So we had to modify some of the wording of the strategic plan to customize it for the parent community. And so within that survey, we did embed some calendar questions. And I say preliminary here this evening because we know that what we're going to do is test these results with a follow-up survey in August. But what was really exciting was not necessarily the responses that you see in front of you, but was the time that people took to actually share their thoughts. It was pages and pages in a Google Doc of thoughts being shared. So what it did was it provided us with additional focus beyond the information that you see in front of you, so that when we send out the survey in August, it will be modified based on that initial or preliminary input. And that means when we come back to you in September, it's just around the corner, we'll be able to have all that information that we talked about trying to gather, so that we could have some conversations about formulation of the 18-19 calendar. We did have one out there for everyone to take a look at and to comment on, and really a lot of the conversations that were shared with us through the input in the document were about the 19-20 calendar, which was the vacation schedule. So when we send out the August calendar, we're going to be more focused and more specific with our questions. People gave us some great input on the survey itself. And so this is just initial information for you to take a look at. And again, there'll be a follow-up survey in August. The premise there is to get folks, when they're thinking at different points along that continuum of a school calendar, and to see whether they're feeling the same way in August that they might have felt in March when we were in the throes of the school year. So good feedback, color-coded, of course, with 3 districts. The green represents Northborough, the yellow is Southborough, the blue is regional. There's some information as to how many folks participated. It's in what you think is reverse order. So the shorter bar is actually the most preferred in this schedule. I think we're going to flip it a little bit and try to...
It's hard to read.
Right, and try to, measure that a little bit. And so the last sheet that you have below that is actually the ratios. Lynn, this might help. On the last sheet, it's the rating averages representing the bars. So we learned a few things in the process, and we're going to improve on that on the second survey, but it was good preliminary data as a starting point in our conversations. Overall, what will finally happen when we've tested all the survey is there will be a detailed report generated and an analysis of all the information as we move closer to working on the next phase of our strategic plan, because it will expire in 2020. And so this was purposeful to see, just to check in how we're doing, so it'll help us develop our strategic goals for the next version of as we transition to the next plan. We could probably spend all evening just talking about this data and what it actually means, but wanted to get this out for you folks to take a look at. Would love to get input through the chairs on, what suggestions we might want to make for the next survey, and or questions that you might like to offer as we go forward with that. What was interesting in this survey is the teacher responses and the parent responses were pretty close. But we do need to work on, recrafting the questions. So we'll be doing that and bringing that back in September.
I have a quick question, can I? So the option of, I'm new here, Katura, we're on K through 8 in Southborough.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
We forgot Paul too, so it's.
So the option of no religious holidays, are there other districts that have done that, have dropped their religious holidays? Is that right? Yeah.
Most of them. There were districts that never had them, and then there were districts that dropped them, and there were districts that kept them, and then there are districts that are modifying, so it's sort of all over.
Okay.
We have the data that shows what our neighboring districts are doing. We did do that in the early spring, so it could change actually between now and September, so we'll want to update that and bring that to you as well in September.
Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, the day we sent this out, Superintendent Survey Association sent a survey out to all the superintendents, surveying exactly the same thing we were surveying. So it's not unique to our district, and what's also good is because they sent that out, we have additional data as well. So.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, the next agenda item is, sorry, Lynn.
Quick question. So, On this bar graph, so the reason why it's hard to read is typically I think of bar graphs as being number of people who answered a particular response as opposed to like, so like, the bell curve kind of thing like that. So that's kind of disconcerting here. You had me excited there for a minute. Now you're giving me agina. But
There's the bell curve,
so, did we have any questions about how we should accommodate people who have who need to take those religious, because we heard from, the article in the Harbinger about people that already are facing this difficulty and have faced the difficulty.
Right.
But do we have any, reach out to those communities? Have we done that? Do we plan to do that? To the people that would be affected, and also the people that are currently affected, to determine the best way to accommodate the students?
So that's an excellent question, and in fact, that's the question that we've posed to our faculty. So I think it begins in the classroom, and how consistent are we in responding to those kids or those students who are saying, I'm going to be out of class tomorrow because I'm observing a religious holiday that's celebrated in my family. And so I think, we talked about that being a primary concern, and of all the things that we've heard, and some of the comments that we got back actually was, what if my child takes this day off? Or what if my child, wants to observe this holiday? And for us as a school community, that is the response we have to get to. And I think that's a processing with all of the administrative team, and they have to process with their faculties. Because if we're going to come back, or this data is going to suggest that take place, that being, we're going to eliminate certain holidays or not, because the conversation exists whether they're in the calendar or not, right now. When we have students who have a religious observance that we don't recognize in our school calendar, we're struggling with consistency around that as well. So if someone takes a day off to observe Ramadan or, another religious event that's not celebrated in our calendar, how is that student being received by the school community? What's the makeup time? Can they make up the tests? Are there additional assignments? And I think that's what you're asking.
Well, I sort of thinking, like, if we're asking faculty and the educators, their opinion on whether they want these, have the calendar without religious holidays, they need to know that they're going to have to provide accommodation. So you have to kind of, their answer might change if they knew they had to do this, this, and this. So I'm sort of like, how can you ask them what they're willing to do when you haven't asked the people who are affected by it, what can we do? Like, and then go to the teachers and say, okay, can we do this? This is what we're here, like, have the dialogue first by the people who are negatively affected, then go to the teachers and say, this is what's going on. Now, this is what they feel they need. And we, because their answer might be different if they found out they're going to have to do all these things differently. So I would like us to go to the families that are affected and the students affected first, and see what, the problems we would, the students that are currently affected, they can provide insight to all the people that don't know, that they haven't been affected by it yet, and it can be a real good resource in that way.
No, it's a good suggestion.
So I would suggest it be in that order.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
Did anybody notice From which resources do you receive the most district information? 2.6% of the people said school committee meetings. That's like 15 people. I know. Now we know what our audience is. Or viewership.
School committee members.
Also about the number of school committee members.
Our spouses when we're going to get home. Okay, we'll have to get that rating up. What do you think? Okay, guys, that's our goal for next year. Get our ratings up. Thank you, everybody, for the wonderful dialogue on this, and thank you, Christine and the staff for doing the surveys. And look forward to getting up the following up information after August. Next item we have on the agenda is the school physician contract. There is a letter that was dated May 14th, 2017 in your packet from Dr. Sharon Champion, and requesting that she would like to continue as a consulting physician for the 3 districts, and that's the reason why it's coming before the combined meeting. This is something that, and also will the union take a vote on this also?
It's actually, she is the physician for all 3 districts. So I don't know if the union needs to vote on it, or in fact, 3 districts.
3 districts.
It's the 3 districts.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's been our physician for years. She hasn't raised her fee, and she does actually provide a lot of insight when it comes to policy conversations around what is acceptable practice. I can remember a year ago, she sat with us for hours and went through all of our health and wellness policies with us, and really updated us on what is regulation now, what isn't, and what should be policy, and really what shouldn't. Fortunately, a lot of the policies that we eliminated in that area have now been mandated by the Department of Education, so we're in the process of reviewing those again, so it's always good to refresh our practice. It would be my recommendation that we again appoint her. We're trying to make sure that we bring this forward every year in a timely fashion before the committee, and I think I did note that it was a requirement of Mass General Law for the appointment to be an annual appointment.
So at this moment, to entertain a motion from Northborough, Southborough, and the region.
I'll move for Southborough and the region that we appoint Sharon Campion, MP, as the physician for the Northborough, Southborough School District.
Okay, we have a motion, we need a motion from Northborough.
I'll motion for Northborough that we continue to have Sharon Campion as our physician for the district.
And I will second for Northborough and the region.
Second for
from
South.
Mary Beth. Okay, we can take one vote? Okay, we'll take one vote. That will be to appoint the current physician for another 1 year? Is it a 3-year contract?
1 year.
1-year contract. All those in favor of the motion on the table? And it passes unanimous. Thank you. The next item that we have is the superintendent's evaluation. And Christine, did you want to lead off first before?
This is the final update. I was here with the similar document March 15th, about a month and a half ago, and as has been the practice over the last 3 years, the goals are set. Conversations with school committee takes place in September, October timeframe. The first update on the goals and that are articulated is done, combined meeting in December, again in March, and this is the final presentation. Throughout the process, I've tried to sort of color update the progress as we've gone through, and before I identify the growth in the last month and a half, as indicated by the blue, I thought a lot about this after when I attached sort of a highlights page at the end, and oftentimes when you're, superintendent, you're thinking project, event, occurrence, rather than the overall experience of being superintendent in a district that I continually say is in a magic bubble of success and growth. And I would be amiss if I did not state that one of the highlights of working in this district, whether it's because of an evaluation document or because it's of what we do on a day-to-day basis, is working with teachers that, like we saw this evening, and seeing the excitement of our students each and every day in the classrooms. Unfortunately, something I don't get to do as often as I would like to, attending an event and seeing just really the joy of being part of an educational experience that I think happens to be second to none because of the quality of teachers and administrators, the support of the parents and the community that we enjoy, you know, never more so at town meeting. And whatever I've accomplished this year has only been made possible because I have an amazing team that supports our work, and we work collaboratively. So after I hit send, you always have that really aha, and that's really what it's about. These are projects that have been accomplished and things that hopefully will advance teaching and learning in our district and management and organization, but the true value of the work is working with our educators and the administrators that are just phenomenal, and a school committee that continues to be a part of a school committee because they also believe in the importance of education. So I just really want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody in all of our schools for being amazing contributors to our success as a district. Having said that, we have made some progress on the goals. I would be mindful that part of the evaluation process are not only the goals that are identified in this document and identified early on in the school year, but also a big part of that is the standards that are identified in the process of the educator evaluation document for superintendents. And over the 3 years that we've implemented the new standards, 4 years, this has sort of been an evolutionary process of really engaging in this document, and tried this year with the input of the committee to make it a lot more user-friendly. And, you know, that's like saying you don't want marshmallow to be sticky, I think. But it was a document that we've tried to massage and make it a little bit easier to participate in the process. I think we've made some good strides this year. I think one of the things that I'm really most excited about is having had the time to work with 8 associations and just listen to them talk about teaching and learning, and listen to and experience truly how much they enjoy working with our students and how much they value being educators. And you'd think that would be a strange thing to have conversations about when most people think about contracts, about money and so forth. But the real value this year for me as superintendent was carving out that time to just listen and just have them share their thoughts about lots of things. And most oftentimes it had nothing to do with actual increases in the contract. We've made some, I think, great growth with technology. This is a perfect example of teaching and learning and innovative practice. This isn't done anywhere, and it's a lot of hard work by teachers, hours and hours beyond the school day, which is their commitment to, shows their commitment. We continue to work closely to implement some of the corrective action, and I think we're doing amazing things with our efficiency using technology, and thank you to Cheryl Levesque, who's in the audience, I think, still, who has helped to spearhead some of these initiatives. As you know, we did appoint a new district treasurer, and through her good work, we are also working on some of those corrective action steps. We talked a lot about the implementation of not only a new learning management system with technology, but also the implementation of some modules in our systems, financial packages that are going to increase our efficiency, which provides more time for teachers and educators at the building level to do their work because it's less data-driven. Also, the solar, I would say one of my disappointments is that I can't present you the signed contracts, but I can say that the work or the time was worth the wait, because the legal counsel from the Tie and Bond, which was the awarding consulting firm for them to conduct Phase 1, has agreed to embrace the increased liability language that our legal counsel wanted to see present in the contracts. I did have a conversation with Fran Hoy, who's the Senior Vice President for Tie and Bond, and he has assured me that despite whatever time has passed, they're not planning to change their original proposal as presented to us through the RFP process. So there's no price escalation in any of that because of the delay. And that while not the same time to realize the timeline they presented in the RFP, they're feeling fairly confident that we can move along at a faster pace. I have shared with our town administrators that it is our intent to sign this agreement as soon as the liability language is embedded in the new RFP, and we are going to move forward, and I'm sure they will follow suit, but I think we need to move forward on this initiative. So they're somewhere in Argentina, and Fran Hoy's legal counsel was going to contact our legal counsel. Yesterday, actually Monday, I talked to Greg Pagnini, who is Naomi Stoneberg's new liaison to our district, and he hadn't heard anything, and I asked him to call them directly. So the sun will shine, and hopefully we'll be able to get that moving. So that's one of the things that I'm a little disappointed about. And our Worcester Cohort, as mentioned, I'm excited about that. We heard earlier today that we've got some administrators who are retiring in our district and or moving on. And, here at the high school, we have 2 retirees. I wish the cohort was completed because there are still 10 teachers in there from Algonquin who are part of that process. They're halfway through. And we started that really so that we could build that next level of leadership from within our district. They're all going to have certificates on behalf of the committee tomorrow, just saying, stay the course, stick with the program. There's a year to go. And we've launched our Instructional Round initiative, again, thanks to the good work of Greg Martineau and some of our principals who stepped up to form that training team. Having sent them off to Harvard this year, they conducted their first NASA training day with all of us about what instructional rounds look like. Just like Atlas was a 3 to 5 year initiative, and next month you'll see the culmination of that intense experience. But this instructional rounds will be probably a 3-year rollout. If we're looking to move a district with that many teachers, we have to be thorough about the training and the implementation. So we're pretty excited about that as well, and we'll be sharing more information about that as we move along. So those are some snapshots. In the website, there were 2 Google links that were shared at the top of this page. One takes you directly to the evaluative tool. The other one takes you to all of the other folders that are part of that. And there are some supportive documents in there to support each of the standards as well. So that's where we are.
So, Lynn?
I want to thank you, Christine. I just also have the utmost respect for Christine, and I want to apologize to the committee and to Christine for raising my voice. My husband tells me when I get excited, I raise my voice, so.
You're just passionate, that's okay.
Passionate, so.
Passion
I
is
just
a
want to
great
make
thing.
sure that everyone knows that
If that's your raising your voice,
Wow.
my kids want you as their mother.
And we're around central office. There's a lot.
Okay.
I'm watching the Celtics and not this right now.
I'm sorry. I just get so excited. Sorry.
Thank you, but I really appreciated the input, and we're going to take that and craft that document, so thank you.
No problem. I think we all get passionate at different times. We all have our
I'm glad you all looked
issues and what we
surprised at me,
enjoy.
then I was like, okay, maybe it didn't come off so bad.
No, it didn't. I mean, I'm saying, like, I'm glad she's looking at it that way because I'm learning from you by looking at those graphs and the bar graphs. So, Christine, thank you so much for your work. You've made this, and Christine has made this so concise with us with all the dates, with the links. Usually the evaluation process, which now goes to us, which is the hardest part. You have made it easier for us. So I'd like to thank you very much, and thank you for the hard work and setting up the goals. So the evaluation instrument was sent by Kathleen to every member. Make sure that you have had it.
Well,
It's also up here.
it's linked through this document, which was
Okay.
sent to everybody. So, I think sort of as a summary to this meeting, we'll probably send a, wrap-up email. And it will, because this process, Christine has made it ultimately easy, but it is still a little complex. So, Christine's self-evaluation will have the link to the evaluation tool and also to all of her evidence folders, should you have any, questions about any of the areas. But I think we'll also send with the email a link to, there's a MASC document that those of you who are veterans on school committees have probably seen it it's been around since 2012. But people who are new, it's kind of a good sort of overview of why are we doing it and why are we doing it this way. So we'll send that out, and then also the DESE document that will have the rubric for the standards that are in Christine's, in the evaluation tool. And that's just to help you out. Like, none of these things are mandatory. It's just if you sort of feel like you're floundering and you don't really quite know what to do, look at these documents before you call us.
And we met with Christine at the beginning of the month to go over some of the process, and as the two chairs, Kathleen, myself, and Christine, just to go over some of the goals and that type of things. We had that communication going. And Kathleen and I just met for a few minutes before the meeting just to try to establish some deadline dates for you. And do you want to give it to them now, or should we send an email tomorrow?
Oh, no, let's say, because I'd like feedback. So what we kind of thought was, we need some time to summarize all of your input. We need to present to school committee June 21st, and we need to meet with Christine before that. So if, give us a couple days, and then to meet with Christine, and then give us a week to do the summary report. So we were thinking June 5th. Is that enough time for, it's a Monday, because we realize that you guys probably do this stuff over the weekends. And you look like that's not good. And it's also,
For me, it's not that, it's graduation weekend.
it's graduation weekend. See, that's what I'm not in tune with.
Can I do it by Wednesday?
And that's why we started with June 19th.
2 more days.
Yeah.
But that is,
Some of us can probably have it by June 5th.
yeah, if you don't have a graduating senior, then if you could have it by June 5th, like, do it over the weekend. But obviously, it's graduation weekend, and we're not gonna.
And not that I can't start it now, but.
I know, but, life happens.
But if you have a straggler or two coming in later, it doesn't matter, right? So I think most can get it by the 5th.
Right.
Yeah, because what we try to do is build consensus in all the individual, and the comments are the most, I'd say, time-consuming, because that's what you're trying to build the consensus through. So, yes, you may.
And if some of you get it done sooner, you can send it. So what we do is, regional members would send it to myself, and the union members would send it to Kathleen. And if
So
you're
it's the opposite. Oh, no, it's not the opposite, because it's from last year.
It's
So
from
you're
last
right.
year.
I've already stepped into my new role.
So, and then if a regional member is from Southborough, would you rather send it to, it doesn't make any difference, because whoever you send it to, we're going to be working with them. So either one, whoever you would prefer to send it to is fine. And this process that we have is the same evaluation tool that is used for educators. The principals would use with teachers, they've got to do, they set goals at the beginning of the year of a 2-year process. They have to go to the standards, they have to have evidence in their portfolios to support the goals, and I'm sure that Christine does it with the same kind of variance of the evaluation tool. So what's great about this is that the hierarchy all the way up is using it, and it's nice to have that portfolio of evidence, which is something new that we haven't had, we've had in previous years, but not the whole tenure here. So any questions on the superintendent evaluation process? If you have any questions, you can send Kathleen and I, or send it to Christine, whatever means of communication, if you have any questions on the process, or you can't open up some link or something. Okay?
I'd just say the most important thing is make sure you're signed into your Google, your NS Borough Google, like when you're in Google Chrome, make sure like you're in your NS Borough Google account. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything.
And I tested the links again, and in fact, I brought the setup, but I tested the links again today, and they're both live. So one takes you right to the rating sheet, and I think this is something that the committee was confused on a couple times. There's one for the goals, which isn't, it's very important, but then there's the one for the ratings, which is really what is, those are the little dots, and that's the part that's the actual rating. So that takes you right to that, and then the other link takes you inside the whole folder. And, it's really a compilation of your own experiences working with the superintendent. That's really what informs a lot of the evidence, as well as whatever I might share with you, so.
Okay, and...
Good luck.
Thanks. Our next scheduled combined meeting will be June 21st, and that will be chaired by Kathleen. For those new members, we alternate the chairperson chairing the meetings, the combined meetings from Northborough to Southborough and from the Union to the region. Any agenda items for the June besides the superintendent's evaluation? Okay?
Oh,
yes.
We're going to have an Atlas, the end of Atlas update, all the model units.
Wow.
We're going to take you inside the construction zone. For 5 years, we've been saying it's a construction zone, but it has been constructed. Wow, so we're excited about that.
That'll be fantastic. So we'll have the Atlas final documents. Okay?
Right. In its current form.
Okay, and before we adjourn, we do have an executive session, so I need a motion. Paul?
I'll move for Southborough, the region, and the union to move to executive session to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel and not to reconvene in open session.
So Paul, you did it for Southborough, the region, and?
Union.
It's a triple.
That's a triple.
Triple play.
Okay, so I need,
I'll motion for Northborough to enter executive session, to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel and to not reconvene in open session.
okay, I need seconds.
I'll second for a region.
A second for Southborough Union.
Southborough, Mary Beth. And I will second for Northborough. Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We're done.